All right, we are live. Good Friday afternoon. Thank God it's Friday. I don't know. All these days are starting to run together for me, so I don't know if it's Friday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all the same for all of us that are working from home and doing all kinds of stuff. So good afternoon, tribe. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you are joining on replay, please feel free to put questions into the comments and I will get Allie to come back and answer those questions for you. And if you are joining us live, please be sure to tell us where you're from and tell us and let us know if you have any questions. And I am so honored to have my friend Allie, who I am really just getting to know, and I'm so excited to get to know her. And we've kind of gotten to know each other a little bit we're part of Unicorn Sisters Club, and that's been really wonderful. And this has kind of brought us together a little bit more, and I'm really excited about that. But Allie is the author of the best-selling book on legal planning for families called Wear Clean Underwear. She's created a personal resource map to support you in knowing what resources you have, where they are, and how you or your family can access them. And that's actually what we're really going to talk about today, is really being knowing what those are, where you find them, how you make sure that your family, and it's not just in this particular crisis, it's at any point in time, because as I am very well aware, our daughter Brittany was killed in a car accident almost 11 years ago. And so no promise to nobody. So, having your stuff in order is really important for the people that you love, and that, the things that you're going to leave behind, you want to make it easier for them, because it's already going to be hard enough if they lose you. So thank you for joining me, Allie. I'm so appreciative of you being here.
Yeah, you are so welcome, Michelle. And I don't think I knew that about your daughter. I'm so sorry. What a worst possible thing that can happen to a parent. And yeah, so you better than anyone know that life is not guaranteed.
Right.
And in fact, it is the one thing that we all know is coming for us is death. It's the one unavoidable. And I do love that you have a book coming out on becoming hard to kill, so that at least maybe we can have some control and choice, right, over what happens to us and when. And I find that is one of the biggest things that you have the opportunity to choose in your life, is how you set up your own personal systems and structures to make it more or less likely that you'll be able to meet whatever happens and move through it. And that's really what I'm here to talk about today, because we do not know what is coming down the line. We do not know what all of this coronavirus really means for us. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a new normal. What is that normal going to be? What are the choices that we need to be looking at right now, as I say, with our eyes wide open, both for our, ourselves individually, for our families, for our business teams, and then ultimately for our extended communities, and then all of us together, as one humanity. And to me, it seems that the single most important thing that we can be focused on right now is our own empowered sovereignty. And those are the words that I very specifically use: empowered, to be able to know our power, to be able to be making the wise decisions with our eyes wide open, and then sovereignty, to be able to be standing independent, so that we can be interdependent, right? If I'm not independent, if I'm not whole and sovereign on my own, I can't actually enter into a relationship with you in a way that creates health. And so one of the things that I'm looking at in my own family, with my teams, and then of course with my clients and the people that I serve, is how are we looking at our resources? How are we seeing what we really have? And I identified in myself, Michelle, several years ago, something that is extremely disempowering. And I want to bring it up here because I think a lot of people are facing it in themselves but don't have a word for it or know what it is or even that it exists. And it's called money dysmorphia. And money dysmorphia is the distorted view that we have of our financial reality. And that distorted view causes us to make poor decisions. Poor decisions. Because how can we make good decisions through a distorted lens? So, right, we have this distorted view where we sacrifice what really matters in service to that which is infinitely renewable if we know how to work with it. And, I can only imagine with losing a child how that brings to the forefront immediately what really matters.
Oh yeah, for me, definitely. This is all about perspective, honestly, because that is the one thing you cannot escape when you lose a child is perspective about what's truly important. And so I feel like that's the gift in what's happening currently is that we all get to make a decision about what is it that we're going to bring into our new normal when this is over in this because at the end of the day, whatever we've all been doing, and I'm not pointing any fingers, but all of us collectively have been doing things that have probably not been serving us and are probably not something that need to be brought into the new normal with us. And we really need to take account of those things and really evaluate everything that we were doing before and whether or not that is actually something that's good for us. And I love your words, empowered sovereignty. I mean, that just like, it gives me chills. It's so and I cannot stress enough how much that people really need to take, not just their financial, but their health, all of this. You are empowered because you have the rights and the responsibility to do this for yourself. You're already empowered. Nobody needs to give it to you. There's no government that can tell you this. You already have this power. You just need to take it and do it. So I love the empowered sovereignty because yes, I am empowered to make decisions for myself, but you're right. I need to make sure my lens is not distorted when I'm making those decisions.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah. And Michelle, I love that you know that. And I know it's, something that I've just started to learn that you teach through Paleo FX, which is that empowerment and sovereignty already exists for you. And I chose those words specifically as opposed to words like freedom and abundance. Because freedom and abundance are these ideas that are like, oh, I have to get freedom. I have to get abundance. I have to create those things. Whereas the empowered sovereignty is what we already have. It is what you already have. And when you wipe off the distortion, when you start to see clearly, you can see, oh, I already am empowered and sovereign. It is just about really understanding the resources that I already have, and beginning to make the choices about how to use them wisely. Because we all have, especially, if you're watching this right now, whether live or on a recording, you have so many resources available to you. And yet most of us come into this reality with this distortion lens from ancestral patterning, and parents who did not have the tools that we have today. They didn't have this.
Right.
They were really just trying to do the best they could, maybe not with the resources that they actually needed. And so we were passed on genetically. I'm an estate planning lawyer by trade, so I've thought a lot about inheritance and death. And what are we actually passing on from one generation to the next? In the world of estate planning, we think of it in the terms of money, right? But the truth is that what we're actually passing on is far deeper. And when I consider the context of evolution as a parent myself, my kids are 17 and 20 now. What I think about and what I see in my children is that they are perfectly positioned to receive all of the conditioning that has come through me and to reflect that back to me in the perfect way to trigger my deepest insecurities, which I can either deal with by projecting them back onto them, making them feel bad and wrong, further embedding those inherited patterns, or I can use it to wake up, and see that really what life is giving me and each one of us is the opportunity to step into our full empowerment and make our choices with all of our resources, which, by the way, sometimes your resources are a 2x4 up the head, right? Sometimes that's how we have to get it. And to use all of our resources from this place of choice to step into that empowered sovereignty and, become our own best financial advisors, become our own best legal advisors first. And then if we are going to hire support, that we hire people who can actually help us, actually serve us, actually be our allies and partners, helping us to make the right decisions for ourselves and the people we love.
Amen. I love all of that. So let me ask you a question, because there's a lot for me particularly to think about between all of my business aspects of what I do and then the personal aspects of, my what my legacy is, or what and I love how you talk about this inheritance of it being beyond money, because Lord knows I've been working on for quite some time the evolution and the generational things that were passed down that I've been trying to undo so that I don't continue to pass those down, through my children and then ultimately my grandchildren. And so I love how you talk about that. So what should I focus on first? Obviously I've got a business, and then I've also got my personal stuff. So what for someone like me, what would I do first?
Yeah, I think one of the best places and the simplest and clearest place to start is to do an inventory. So one of the things that, and you talked about this when you said take stock, take account, right? And sometimes when we think about taking stock or taking account of these really big picture issues and what's my personal responsibility and why am I here and what's mine to do, it can be too big. Right. And so what we can do is we can hone in a very clear starting place, which is to create this inventory of what are the assets that I have available to me. And the value of this is twofold. One is it begins to allow you to see clearly about what you really have. But two is that if something happens to you, which it eventually will, right? It's only a matter of time. It might be tomorrow. It might be 60 years from now. But whenever it is, all of those assets are going to pass to the people that you love. And they can either pass to the people that you love in a way that's really messy, or that is fairly well organized and allows them to receive what you're passing on with ease, without conflict, without losing anything, right? There's 49 to 80 billion dollars in the state departments of unclaimed property all across the United States, including my own family. I can go to the Florida Department of Unclaimed Property right now and look up my father-in-law, my grandmother, and my brother-in-law, and I can see their names. I can see the accounts that are there, but even as a lawyer, it is too difficult for me to take the time and spend the money and the energy to get access to those assets. And they're just out there as open loops. And what we really want to do is take stock, take inventory of what we have. And from there, number one, then we've created this map that our family has access to if and when something happens to us, even if we don't take any more steps. Okay, great. I've done the bare minimum thing to be able to give the people that I love a list of what I have, where it is, and how they can access it. That's like the bare minimum thing. Then from there, I can start to take stock clear-eyed, and start to see, okay, now what is next for me? Now, usually what's next after that is a basic foundational estate plan. right? Everybody knows I need a will, I need a healthcare directive. Some people know I need a trust. And it's like something we put off and we put off. And oh, I'll get to that later. Oh, I just won't die.
That works. That one works,
right? Yeah,
right?
great. Right. And the truth is the amount of relief that you will feel in your system after you have taken just these basic foundational steps is significant. Is significant. And so what keeps a lot of people from taking these steps is not knowing what to do or succumbing to the procrastination.
Mhm.
Inertia is powerful.
Mhm.
And so there's a way that we actually have to come outside of ourselves, because these are not things you're doing for yourself, right? And look at, why am I not taking action here? Why am I not taking action here? Why am I not creating the map, the inventory for the people that I love?
Right.
Is it because I don't know what to do? Is it because it's not on my calendar? Is it because I'm actually too absorbed with something else, right? This is where we start to get to reclaim our time, energy, and attention in service to what we say we really want. What we say we really want. And if what you really do want is to be making clear-eyed decisions for the people that you love, then you start that by taking an hour and putting it on your calendar. I'm going to intentionally use this time to take this first step for myself, to get empowered, for the people that I love. And when this whole thing started, I went into my own meditation to ask myself two questions. One is, what is the most important thing that I could do for my family right now? If I was to go into the hospital, if I was to die, what is the most important thing that I could do for them right now? And then what is the way that I can most be in service to others right now? And so I took all of that and I made this online personal resource map for people, so that you don't have to not know what to do anymore. You don't have to not know. Instead, you can basically just enter your name and email address on a page, get a full 1-hour training on exactly what to do step by step. What are the legal planning steps you need to take for the people that you love? What can you do yourself? What do you need to work with an advisor on? And then create your own personal resource map for the people that you love.
And I have just put the link to that free resource map in the comments, or everyone should have it now. So go get that, share that, people, because everyone needs that information, needs to know how to do that. I think that's probably one of the things, is that it's that whole, if we don't know what to do, we just sit and do nothing. Or if we have all of these things we see in front of us, all these different options of stuff to do, then it's paralysis by analysis, because then we're like, okay, well, there's just too many things to do. And if you just take things step by step, and do them, you can at least minimum get this done.
Well, that's right. Well, and I think that's exactly right. I mean, so that's what I've really spent the past 20 years figuring out, Michelle, because like somebody like you have a complex reality. You have businesses, you have kids, you have a spouse. I don't know. Are you in a second marriage situation, or are you still married to your high school sweetheart? No, second marriage. So now we have blended family situations. And I imagine that when you go to think about all of it, overwhelm, shut down, do nothing. And that, I know that you want better than that for your business teams. I know you want better than that for your family. And a lot of times we think about this idea of legacy as something that we leave after we die. It's not. Legacy is the choices that you make right now while you're alive. Legacy, by making the choices that you make while you're alive, makes your life better now. It is not about what you leave later.
Right.
It's about what you do, who you be today.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen. I completely agree with that. Hey, Frank, see you on there. Thanks for joining us. So tell me this, if you already have like estate planning already in place and everything, how does this resource map help you along the way on with this?
So critical, so critical. So as an estate planning lawyer for 20 years, I have seen the reason I do what I do now, and I train estate planning lawyers across the United States. And the reason I do that is because when I was in law school, my father-in-law died. He had spent $3,000 on an estate plan specifically to keep us out of court and from having to deal with his ex-wife. Now, I was in law school, so I didn't know much. But when all of a sudden we were in court and dealing with his ex-wife, I thought, okay, this lawyer must have committed malpractice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then imagine my surprise when I go after graduating law school. I graduated first in my class from Georgetown Law. I had my pick of all the best law firms in the country. I got recruited out to California to start at Charlie Munger's firm. Mm-hmm. Charlie Munger's Warren Buffett's personal lawyer. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go work at Charlie Munger's firm. You know, they're paying for me to move out to California. They give me a big signing bonus. I go to this law firm. I'm in the estate planning department, and it's the craziest thing. We are doing things exactly the same way that this law firm in Florida did things for my father-in-law. Mm-hmm. And I think, wait a minute, this was not malpractice at all. It was common practice. It was common practice. This is the way estate planning is done. How could it be that people are spending thousands of dollars on their estate planning to work with a lawyer specifically to keep their family out of court and out of conflict, only for us to end up in court and conflict?
Wow.
And this is how we do estate planning. And so I start interviewing estate planning lawyers all across the country to see, am I missing something here? And what I find out is I'm not missing something here. This is the way estate planning is done. So if you've done your estate planning, chances are you've got a fancy stack of documents, maybe in a beautiful binder, on a shelf or in a drawer somewhere in your house, and you haven't looked at it in years, and it no longer reflects anything about your current reality. The law has changed, your assets have changed, your life has changed, and yet you've got that fancy stack of paper sitting there saying estate planning done. But it's not done for the people you love. It's not. Estate planning is not something that you get done. Estate planning is something that you continue to look at periodically throughout your lifetime. And ideally, you have a lawyer who has systems in place to support you with that, because you know you're not going to do it on your own, right? And so what I realized, right? Because it's always the last thing on the priority list. And so part of what I do when I work with the lawyers that I train is help them to put in place the systems that they need. Number one, to inspire people to get into action in the first place. Number one, to make it really easy for people to get into action, because if it's too hard, we're not going to do it.
Right.
And then number two, to help people keep the process moving forward as effectively, efficiently, and affordably as possible, so that people are choosing into their own level of engagement and service. And then number three, to make sure that those plans work, so that people aren't just spending a few $1,000s on thinking that they've got something in.
Did I lose you? Oh, there you are.
I think I'm back. Well, yeah, it looked like we just blipped out for a second.
You did. Yeah, you said spending a few $1,000s thinking that they have something done when they don't. I think that was
right. Yeah, when the truth of the matter is that Yeah, we're blipping out, but are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, great.
You just freezing for some reason. I'm not real sure what's going on, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, we're in this new Wi-Fi reality. So, you know, if you've got estate planning done already, great. What that tells me is you really care. You really care, and you did something. And now what I would do is I would go to the personal resource map training that Michelle has linked to here in the comments and create an inventory. Watch the training, number one, to see if it might be time to review your estate plan and look at any of the pieces, and if so, how to do that. But then also, every estate plan that I come across, including my own, by the way, typically is missing the inventory of the assets. So that is one thing that you can do, absolutely without question. And then once you have inventoried your assets and have that up to date, I mean, that's something that you can be doing every year minimum. Certainly right now, great opportunity to do it. Is that you can then have that reviewed with a lawyer who then has systems to keep your plan up to date and your inventory up to date, and make sure that the people who would be impacted by your death know what to happen, know what they need to do if something happens to you over time, so that you're not just getting a stack of documents, but actually a plan and a trusted advisor, if you want one, who is going to be there for your family when you can't be.
So let me ask you a question. Do you have like a directory of estate planners that you have trained and that do this kind of work? Do you have something like that?
I do. So you can find them at personalfamilylawyer.com. And
personal
family lawyer.
Whoops. How about I spell it right? Lawyer.com. I'm going to put that into the comments.
Yep. And when you watch the training that Michelle linked to, you'll actually get $1,000 worth of services towards working with one of our lawyers if you choose to.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and I have put that into the comments.
Yeah, because again, we want to make this as easy for you as possible. Awesome. So that's, we've built that in. So in the training, which Michelle linked, first of all, you're going to learn what you can do yourself. There's a lot of things you can do yourself online for free. You don't necessarily need to work with a lawyer. But if you're in a complex situation, like you've got business, blended family, kids from 2 different marriages, you don't want to do that alone. Because the most important thing that you can do is head off conflict at the pass. Head off conflict at the pass, right? So I have a beautiful relationship now with my stepmom. My dad died in 2004, and my stepmom and I are close. But that's not often what happens. Often what happens is parent dies, the relationship with the surviving step parent is volatile because they're holding the assets that you would have otherwise gotten when your parent died. And now you got to wait for them to die to get them. And meanwhile, they're using all the assets. Maybe they're going to get remarried and give them away to somebody else altogether, right? So we can head all of these conflicts off at the pass when we understand them, and we could face them and use our estate planning to actually create more family harmony. Yeah. If you think about the families that have amassed the most wealth, the most power, the most security, it's about generational wealth. It's about generational wealth. If you think about your own family, if I think about my own family and where assets have been lost at each generation, it's because of conflict. It's because of poor decisions made when somebody was alive that then impacted us when we died. I have a whole side of my family, my dad's side of the family, that those relationships are gone.
Yeah.
And that's a tremendous amount of relational capital that is lost simply because of how things were handled for my grandmother.
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference in the world for the people that you care about beyond this life.
Yeah.
Beyond this life. And so I think that the analysis that we need to enter into, the question really we need to be asking ourselves is, how can we get out of the survival mentality, the scarcity mentality that so many of us are in right now that only lets us focus on that which is right in front of us, which is ultimately, in a way, perpetuating the scarcity mentality and the survival mentality, and instead recognize that we have so much, and that comes with a lot of responsibility and privilege. And the best way to be with that privilege is to exercise that responsibility. And ability to respond, be hard to kill. Because actually what you've done is you stepped into your full ability to respond, and then the thing that actually maybe could be killed can't.
Right.
You've stepped into that ability to respond in such a way that you can meet the moment, that your kids can meet the moment, that your community can meet the moment, and you are perfectly safe and secure. But it does take making eyes wide open choices to do that.
Amen. Totally agree with you there. So I know a little bit about your spiritual and in your internal healing side. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what you do in a self-practice to heal? Because you talked about some of the generational inheritance, which sometimes the generational inheritance comes with a lot of conflict or a lot of wounds or a lot of things that get passed down. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Before I do that, though, I do want to talk about one other thing that started to come through me last night, and I think is really important for your community to know about. And I noticed that I'm like a little afraid to talk about this, but I think it's important. It's so important that I'm willing to face my fear and move through it, which is, by the way, one of my own spiritual practices. So what began to start to become clear to me last night is the major risks that we are facing right now in the stock market. And I think this is part of eyes wide open decision making. And there are millions of people who have money in their retirement accounts, or whose parents have money in their retirement accounts. And we collectively are pretty much completely disconnected from that money. So I remember when I got my first 401k, I was at the big law firm and they said, "Hey, you're getting a 401k. I didn't know what that was, but I was like, okay, great. I knew it had something to do with money that they were giving me. But I was 28 years old. I had never earned 6-figure paycheck before. I didn't know what a 401k was, even though I was a lawyer. And they hand me this piece of paper and they say, you need to decide how it's going to be invested. So they hand me this piece of paper. And I don't know what I'm seeing. I'm seeing letters and the names. What I now know is the names of funds, mutual funds that I could invest in. But I didn't know that's what I was seeing. And I literally closed my eyes, took my finger, put it down on the paper and said, this one. And even if you didn't do that, to choose what your retirement is invested in, many of you are doing something similar. You are giving your money over to a broker who says they're investing it for you in conservative ways, or that are more focused on income or dividends or growth. You don't know what any of that means. You're just nodding, saying, okay, that sounds good, but not knowing what questions to ask. And so not asking the right questions, and then just turning the other way because you don't know. I did the same thing. I understand that decision-making pattern. And it's why I do what I do today and help you stop doing that, because this is one of your most valuable resources, and you've been putting money over there for retirement, for that rainy day, or maybe your parents are living on it right now. And if what happens that we think is going to possibly happen, and we end up in another financial reality that is depression era, the stock market is going to lose all of its value, maybe not all of its value, but a significant amount of its value pretty quickly. And it will recover over our lifetimes. We know that. We know that everything happens in cycles. But your parents especially, and maybe you, cannot afford to be investing your retirement money anymore with your eyes squeezed shut. And so what I want to encourage you to do today, right now, is to pull your last statement that you got from your retirement account, or figure out how to find it, because some of you don't even know how to find it. Do the same for your parents. Look, we did this for my mom 6 months ago, and we saw some pretty bad things. Number one, we saw that the $100,000 that she had inherited from our grandmother a few years before had lost $40,000 in value.
Wow.
We weren't paying attention. She inherited this basket of stocks from my grandmother. Those mutual funds and stocks lost money. It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to see. And then we saw that where my mom was invested was not good. It was not good. It was not eyes wide open. We ended up cashing her out because we cannot afford to have her. She's only got $200,000 to live on for the rest of her life. We could not afford to have her in the investments that she was in. So the starting place here is just to look. Call your broker, get your statement, go online, whatever you need to do, and look and see. Here's the assignment. Look and see what you are invested in. Look and see which stocks, which mutual funds. Type in the little codes and see. And are these things in alignment with your values? Do you understand what these companies are doing? Do you think that they're going to keep increasing in value? Or is it time to maybe move into cash temporarily in your retirement account? I don't mean cash in your home. I mean a cash equivalent fund through your retirement account. Is this the time actually to start maybe borrowing from your retirement account? Under the CARES Act, you can borrow up to $100,000 from your retirement account right now and invest it in yourself. You couldn't do this before without the 10% penalty and without paying taxes, as long as you pay that back within 3 years. Are you a better investment right now than the stock market? Do you want to have that cash available to reinvest when things shift? Because they're going to go down and then they're going to go up. So this is one of the most valuable resources that you can be looking at right now is your retirement account. And I do have a Facebook group, Michelle, where we're talking about all of these things. I don't know if you want to share that or have people go through the training first and then get access to that, either way.
Okay. Yeah. If they can get access after they go through the training, that's awesome. Then you guys make sure you join that Facebook group. There's been some really incredible Facebook groups and resources that, when you think about your resources, these are some of your resources here where you actually, get lots of really great information and really make sure that you are kind of auditing and really looking at who you're getting your information from. Is it somebody that's really reliable and has a track record? Do your research, because at the end of the day, it's like what Ali said, you have to be your own advocate here. This is no different than in your health. You need to do your research about who you're going to trust for your healthcare concerns, for who's going to be your doctor, for all of those things. It is the same thing. You have to be your own advocate in your health and in your finances. And this is so important to not put that off to just, like Ali said, closing your eyes and putting a finger down. Let's make sure that we're doing the research and that we're looking into all this, because these are resources that can make you wealthy and give you generational wealth, like what Ali's talking about.
Yeah, or take away generational wealth, right? Or put you in a situation where you're needing to support your parents and they don't have what they need. Right. Or where they're not able to support you. Right. And so now is our opportunity to look at our overall family wealth, get in right relationship with all of our resources, really see them with our eyes wide open so that we can make the wisest decisions for ourselves and the people we love. It's time to wake up. Mm-hmm. It is time to wake up, and I'm here to support you to do that, to wake up around your time and money, to get good with money and stop putting it off, because your empowered sovereignty really depends on you showing up now.
Amen. I totally agree. Wow, thank you so much for coming on today. I so appreciate you taking this time and for putting together such a great resource for people to be able to start somewhere, to start creating that um, process for their family and for themselves to, because I can't imagine what peace of mind having all of this in place does for a person, knowing that they have at least taken the minimum steps forward for their family. Because obviously, like, we never expected Brittany to pass away. We had no idea. It was very shocking. And it was so for all of us now going through what's happening now, and the fact that there are a lot of people that are losing people, making sure to do this. This is a thing. This virus is not the last one. It's we're gonna have another. We're gonna have another and another, and we need to all be prepared, and we need to be our own advocate. So thank you so much, Allie, for coming on.
You're
I
so
so
welcome.
appreciate you. And you guys, if you have more questions or anything for Allie, put it in the comments. I'll have her come back and answer those for you. And if you, the link for the free resource map is in the comments for you to be able to find. And also you can go to personalfamilylawyer.com to find a trained estate planner that, like what Allie was talking about, that you can go there and find that as well. And please, as always, if you know somebody that this information could help, please share this with them and share this widely for people to know, because this is the one thing that I've said all along, is that we're going to see the best in humanity through this, and we're going to see the worst. And this is one of those times where we're getting to see the best in humanity, where people like Allie come forward to help the masses to try to get themselves into a great position to really take advantage of your empowered sovereignty. So please, please share this widely with everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Michelle. Have a beautiful day.
You too. We will be back again live soon. I think it will actually be Keith sometime in the next 24 hours. I'm not sure. We've been doing these lives so often now, but come back and see us really soon. Thanks, guys.